If you scrolled a little bit on YouTube or social medias, a recurring subject has been probably brought to your ears and so in minds. HP inflation, power creep, are WutheringWaves endgames free-to-play friendly? Are these modes too centered around meta composition? Hi, I'm Psycho75, and in this video I try my best to contribute my thoughts, reflect on the subject, because I think it's important to get a different approach. And that's good, another angle, I have one. In the video, I will also showcase some gameplay of all units performing in the actual TOA. To start with clear statements. Yes, there is HP inflation. Yes, new characters are more powerful. As a day one player, I can tell you right in the eyes, the clear time that we used to have in 1.0 with the best teams is the same than the actual middle tower with the best actual teams. Now we need to navigate our train of thoughts to rethink the situation and asking the good questions. As used to say my favorite teacher in college, and what I loved to say to my former students, majority of the problem is already solved when you properly identify it. The situation has to be replaced also in the context. We don't play the same WutheringWaves today. The overall game design structure of the game has evolved. I will show you and explain later in the video. What could be the good questions? Are HP inflation and power creep a problem right now? And to extend the question, to what conditions will it become one? And is it fixable in a fair way for the players and Kuro? WuWa is going through what is called a paradigm shift. It means that the metrics and the rules have changed. And let me show you how. What you see are the best in slot typical 1.x teams. And on the other side, best in slot 2.x teams. Pause the video a few seconds if you need more time. You're back? Okay. What do you notice? The team structure is the same in 1.x, it's called hypercarry. 90% of the damage in the rotation done by one character. And everything has to revolve around him. Support used to be literal outro slave, existing only to deliver the cherished buff to the main DPS, and their relevancy as it depended on their fill time and the buff provided. Beside Chengli, who is an anomaly, and as I said in the previous video, I don't consider her as a 1.x unit, because her design was way ahead of her time when she released. And remember what we used to say, she has potential, good burst, but I don't see how we're gonna create an environment to make her perform as it. For proof, she started to be relevant in mainstream the moment Brent released. Before that, that was very niche gameplay use case, some people made it work. I also remember having fun back in the days with Quit Swap Linin Duo Burst, but keep in mind something very important. It is not because you make it work that it was the design intent, that it was meant to be played this way. It appears it works, yup, and that's all. To stay on the subject, I really want you to keep this mental anchor. We talk about game design and how Kuro presents us units and the way they intended us to play them. Now, what do you notice in 2.x teams? First, the most obvious, there's way more team choices, because some 1.x characters are now integrated in 2.x beast comp. Okay, most important, only 2 hypercarry comps. One was a necessity, one was a choice resulting of that necessity. Let me explain. So when you dive in, you will see 2 things. First is that Carlotta is a fix to the game, because no glacial carry existed. And Kuro had to find a place for Jedger to justify her existence as a legit best-in-slot unit, like the Chekhov rifle allegory. But in the absolute, if I wanted to push an agenda, I could also say Carlotta doesn't shine at her full potential when paired with Cantarella, but the teams makes better clear. I won't, but you get the idea. For Zani, it was clearly a choice that had to be made because of Carlotta. And on this take I'd make, there is 50% of it who is a joke. I really think that Kuro cooked her as a hypercarry on purpose to set the lore and the big boss mommy image we were teased and hyped about agenda. Okay, now the serious one. On the other hand, being able to let Jedger free from Jinxie and serve Carlotta in case we have Glacio and Spectro room to separate the units and give more choice. Those 2 units are the exception. Beside them, you see a general tendency. And what is it? The repartition of the total damage in the rotation is way more homogeneous, because we have comp where almost everyone deals damage and where everyone buff each other. Even Cartesia is buffing Aero Rover, which when well invested deals a big chunk of damage for his field time. Augusta also delivers a very interesting 15% all damage attribute buff. To come back on the paradigm shift, compared to 1.x, the relevancy of unit doesn't revolve anymore on is this big PP and this support low field time and good buff. Rules have changed. Now the relevancy of a unit is okay, damage is good, but what and to who does she bring something to make them play together? The team structure became a virtuous circle, while before it was a pyramidal one, horizontal versus vertical relationship. But now you put this in relation with natural power creep and HP inflation. Let's take once again Kartetia team example. Okay, Kartetia, she's the main DPS. But Hero Rover on a well-invested Windward Pilgrimage can deal pretty big damage if you made correctly your DPS cycle with Fleur-de-Lis. Then comes Chacona, who has great buff, but also great damage and medium field time. Kartetia is the pinnacle of the rotation, but there is a very substantial something before, which wasn't in 1.x. It was Borness, 0 damage, and Void until comes the main hero, and the main focus was to set up the buff as fast as we can to get rid of them and finally enjoy the game. And for sure, the Yuna-Augusta duo, the Mono Fusion, the Mono Havoc team are prime examples of what I'm trying to show you. You can add to this Galbrena, Frolova and T1 releasing, it creates another possibility, the Echo Damage team. Now are power creep and HP inflation a problem right now? It could be for some account. It is still possible to stick to your old units if you build and play them well enough, to a certain extent. Will it become one? If they push the power creep and HP inflation, yes, your 1.x units will become irrelevant. In a previous video, I already formulated an idea that could be a fair solution, fair for the players and fair for Kuro, which is simple. Rework 1.x hyper carry outro skills. It will help to integrate them in new comps and avoid the power creep to put in a trash all the team and units you've built around them. Because if 1.x units are irrelevant, the comps that revolves around them become so too. Okay, this is Psycho's post-editing. I just noticed that not only I completely forgot in my script to include my ideas of balancing, but in the same time, why is it important to do that without touching the kits? Adding new outro skills to 1.x hypercarry will give you the possibility to include several buffers or less used units that people have, like permanent 5-star, and raise up the damage ceiling of the comp's total damage. It also doesn't exclude new players, because they will have use of them without feeling pressured by building a box. So here, you will see few examples of viable synergies if you make that rework. Peace! I am sure of two things. The root of the problem is the 1.x hypercarry structure more than the numbers inflation, because this kind of game design is destined to follow that path and those issues. Second, the problem revolves also around the amount of total units you need and how invested they are, which is, I agree, a big issue for new players. I'm a veteran, but I'm not biased like some, falling into the trap of obscuring a very real and legitimate problem that new players may encounter. I get you guys, and I don't put you aside. I hope Kuro will listen to us and fix this issue, otherwise the game could become financially problematic and predatory for the players. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it until this point, say Dekai in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My socials are in the description. As usual, take care of yourself and your finance. See you next time. Peace.